What's going on, everybody? Hope everyone is having a great night so far. I'm with my main man, the StuCast, going live, talking some college football. We'll mix in some Canes football as well. Stu, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, brother. It's great to be back here. Great comments last week. Really appreciate it. Canes community showing some love. I got a bone to pick with you. Though.
Hit me.
So I woke up this morning and I think we had a little miscommunication because we were talking back and forth about some stuff I'm hearing, and some ideas, and I think I just miscommunicated something. And then this morning, I got Brad flipping out with. So I responded thinking I was talking about Charleston Rambo coming in, and I hadn't confirmed anything. I mean, he obviously put out the tweet saying he's coming and everything, but so I'm a little bit behind it. I was referring to him, not Palele Gyote, the USC transfer linebacker. Like I said a few weeks ago, and I don't have any new information.
Right.
I don't have a source specifically saying he's going to Michigan State. I'm just saying that the crystal ball has changed since the holidays, that, hey, he's, really considering Michigan State, where before the holidays, he wasn't really considering them too much. But with his brother there, it just makes a lot of sense.
Right.
No new information on him and what his idea is going to be.
Right. Because last time we spoke, you were very confident he was going to end up at Michigan State.
Well, I think the tea leaves are trending that way. I'm probably like 80% sure, but you never know. I mean, that's the team that he's getting linked with on all the rumors.
Right. I think personally, moving forward, Miami, they're going to finish out, the transfer portal offseason, bringing in a corner into this kind of transfer portal class, whatever you want to call it. But I think they're going to be interested in Tyreek Stevenson, cornerback, formerly from the University of Georgia. He's in the portal. He's originally from Miami, went to Southridge Senior High School. So, little throwback there. Troy Davis, third place in the Heisman Trophy. Remember him? Iowa State?
Vaguely. I vaguely remember Troy Davis. Vaguely.
Little throwback.
I will say this, though. Just hearing from folks around Michigan State, there is a ton of transfers. I'm talking at least a dozen probably coming in. So this middle linebacker situation, probably not the only fight Michigan State and Miami are going to have before we meet on the field later.
That's right. That's right. Miami will be playing Michigan State, I think, third game of the season. So
maybe I'll go down there. Maybe we'll do some press. We'll press the flash, hit the press conference, ask some questions.
Love it.
And maybe Brad will let us hang out with him, because he looks like he does. He looks like he knows the good spots to go to.
Sounds like a plan. Stu, Miami lands Charleston Rambo, 6'1" wide receiver out of Oklahoma. How big of an impact do you think Charleston Rambo has with this Miami Hurricanes wide receiver core? Because Mike Harley, he is coming back. That's official.
That's excellent. Yeah,
the number one wide receiver, returning player. I think that's a great compliment with Mike Harley, because the wide receiver core, as you've seen, it needs a lot of help.
Oh, that's putting it politely. Manny loves his transfers. If you transfer in for Manny, you're playing. Rambo's a guy that's going to fit in to this system and this scheme perfectly. I think it gives De'Eric, if he is playing, starting right off on the season, if he is playing, it'll give him a great weapon. And these guys get playing time. I mean, look at KJ Osborne, a guy that was, just a name, a dude from Buffalo.
Yeah.
And he came in and, he showed out, 700 yards. those were missed yards this season, and Harley did as best he could to, kind of make up for it. But I think between Rambo and Harley, it just gives another weapon.
Stu, did you see the early 247 rankings they have for the top 25?
Yeah, I did check them out. Yeah,
Miami's pretty ranked early on. I mean, they're in a nice position, believe it or not.
No, I believe it. I mean, yeah, you have De'Aaron King coming back, and that's worth. We saw it this year. I mean, how many times we got to say it? De'Aaron King's worth ball games. If you take De'Aaron King off this team, and I like N'Kosi Perry as a player. I think he's a talented kid. I think that's a 7-8 win team, and De'Aaron is the difference. He is a 2 to 4 game improvement over whatever your team's going to do on a year in, year out basis. He's just that dynamic at the college level.
Interesting offseason going on with the Miami Hurricanes football program. I don't know if you've really been kind of keeping your eye out with Kane's Twitter, but there's rumblings. We're going to get a new defensive coordinator. We're not going to get a new defensive coordinator. Manny Diaz is going to call plays. Stu, I know we had different opinions on this matter. You did not like Manny Diaz if he were to call plays at defensive coordinator.
Yeah, I think that's a horrible idea.
Why?
Well, because Manny's got to be the head coach, right? It's going to take a ton of eyes and ears away. His thought process, you're basically giving the team over on offense to Rhett Lashley. You're just going, hey, Rhett, go for it, because I got to go talk to my defense. I got to scheme the defense. Now, if you tell me he's going to do it, but he's going to have an amazing defensive assistant, a guy that is a real solid defensive mind with good pedigree. You tell me Chris Partridge is going to be his assistant, or Charlie Partridge, whatever, defensive assistant, then okay, I can maybe buy it. But Manny stepping over to defense, it's just too much. It's too many things on one plate. He's got to focus on getting this team in the right direction. And right now he's piling up sandbags of transfers.
Right.
And eventually he's going to run out of sand. And this is he's got to be thinking about the big things, not about playing a 4-1-6 defense or rushing the strong side safety on a play. He can't be doing that.
No, I mean, you make a good point. You can't keep relying on the transfer portal because, like we mentioned before, it's like a Band-Aid. It could heal. Maybe it's still infected. I think you have to rely on, per se, the underclassmen coming in and developing them. Are they ready to go? And I think you can't miss on a transfer portal guy, because worst case scenario, let's say Miami brings in Charleston Rambo. What if he doesn't show up? He doesn't play well. It's the same consistent problems we had the past season, dropping passes. Then there was no point of bringing him in.
Here's the difference. I've seen Rambo make an athletic play over the middle.
He'll be good.
And catching a ball that
I'm not worried about him.
He shouldn't catch. Yeah, I'm not worried about him. And I think Mike Harley, we know what he is. I'm not worried about him. Yes, CEO for Miami. Absolutely. Because nobody from that athletic department or that board of trustees is going to do it for him. And that's what's been shown. Here's a question for you. Why didn't you guys get Kevin Steele?
That's a great question. I don't know why either. He was in the market, takes the analyst role at Tennessee. Now, obviously, he is an alumni from the University of Tennessee. Everybody knows Jeremy Pruitt is on the hot seat. I mean, he may leave tomorrow or next week. They want him out. He may say, hey, look, I'm an alumni from Tennessee. I did a fairly good job at Auburn. Let me just take over the team. Be the head coach. Maybe he's kind of coach in waiting. I don't know what the situation is. But if I was Miami, I think Kevin Steele would have been a great candidate to go after. I know you love Kevin Steele.
I think Kevin Steele is one of the top 10 defensive guys in the country.
Really?
Yeah, easily. Look, I don't know. You brought up Tennessee. Do you want to get into Tennessee? Or you want to table that?
We'll get into Tennessee in a little bit, but
okay.
I want to pick your brain with Kevin Steele for a second.
Yeah, Kevin. So when I called all my friends down at the Plains and asked around about where Kevin Steele was going, I did not hear Miami, not once. It makes sense. It's one of those moves that makes sense. Like, yeah, him go down to Miami. He can be a DC. He can make good money, live in Miami, and, they can clean up. Miami's in a position. They're close, right? They're close. And nothing was done. Nothing. Maybe they made a phone call. I don't know. I didn't hear about it. I heard LSU. I heard Missouri. And then I heard Tennessee. Ended up being Tennessee. I kind of lost traction on it. But yeah, I mean that's a weird, funky thing. We'll get into it and talk more about it, but it's funky.
I mean, but I know you have your opinion with Manny Diaz. I have mine per se. If you don't want Manny Diaz being the defensive coordinator, you have to go out and get a defensive coordinator. If not, you're going to be stuck with Blake Baker, who got blown out by UNC, who is in your division.
By the way, did you see they just got a running back to replace Williams and Carter?
Is it Ty Chandler? I think.
Yeah, Ty Chandler's not bad.
SEC running back. I mean, he led the team in rushing yards.
Well, the reason he got just kind of leapfrogged is Eric Gray, the running back. He's a stud. He's phenomenal. Eric Gray is just really solid.
But that was a great.
Ty Chandler's a ball player. He's good. He'll come in and compete.
And he's in the division.
Yeah, that's a sneaky move for him. I kind of liked it, but yeah, man, Blake Baker, God, that defense. If he is scheming against a other than team like UAB is a good ball club, right?
Yeah.
You held them to what, 13, 17?
17
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, UAB's a decent ball club, but you just have a talent gap. Duke, there's a huge talent gap, right? Some of these games don't. NC State.
Oh, that was a shootout. That was a Big 12 style shootout.
Struggling against Vatek. And Vatek was schizophrenic this year. And I think when you look at everything, he's good and he's got the talent and the scheme to crush the small guys. But when he's got to play the real teams,
right,
it folds like a cheap suit.
It shows. UNC, Clemson, Oklahoma State. The entire first quarter, they had no answer. They settled down, and then
that was shocking.
Fourth quarter ended it.
But yeah, I think he'll end up going. You got to make a move here.
Who do you think is like? I mean, I know we mentioned Kevin Steele, but who do you think's realistic? Like, because Miami fans, we want Will Muschamp. Well, like, I'll be honest with you, I don't think that's realistic. I really don't. If we land Will Muschamp, I'll be ecstatic, but I don't think that's realistic. He was just looking to the Michigan job. I'm sure, Stu, you know more about Will Muschamp, where he's been linked to. Kevin Steele's been contacted by Missouri, like you stated, LSU. I mean, if Miami is contacting people, they need to be more aggressive.
No, you can forget about Muschamp. I believe he is replacing Butch Jones at Alabama. Roll damn Tide.
For an analyst role.
Yeah.
So we're in a state where analyst roles in the SEC may be better in the long run instead of taking a gamble at Alabama. Why is Steele per se taking an analyst job at Tennessee then?
Because he's going to be the head coach. And he's going to be the head coach.
So is Pruitt out this year? I mean, this offseason?
Yeah.
He's gone.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Stu, how about Charlie Strong?
Charlie Strong is staying at Alabama.
He's going to stay. He wants to be the defensive coordinator there.
Yeah, I from what I hear, it's Pete Golding is going to leave Alabama. Most likely he's going to go to Missouri. Charlie Strong will be promoted to DC.
That's a nice move. I like Charlie Strong a lot.
He's a good play caller. I think if you keep him in that mode, right? I think if you give him the head coaching gig, you really got to have a very specific team for him. I think he just clashed with Texas in a lot of different ways, and he kind of reminded me of who was it? Randy Shannon. He kind of reminds me of Randy Shannon a little bit, and how he approaches with how he approaches the team.
Stu, someone just stated Will Muschamp is in negotiations right now. Negotiations with per se.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
I'd love to hear it.
From what I was told last night, he's going to be an analyst. Yeah, he's going to be an analyst at Alabama. Now, if he gets a gig somewhere else, so be it. Miami's got to pony up the money. We don't know. That's another thing too. Since it is a private institution, how much are they paying? How much does Manny actually get to fill out a staff?
Right.
That's a great question, because that plays a part into it. You want these guys, you got to pay them big money. You really do.
Right.
And right. I don't know that Will Muschamp, after being head coach at South Carolina, after his run in Florida, I don't know that he's interested in going to become a DC. Right? That is technically a step down. I think he would want. I think he's angling. You go to head coach rehab, and you go back to it. But hey, if you guys pay him enough money, heck, he might come to Miami. But as of right now, from what I'm told, the idea is he's going to be a analyst at Alabama.
Love it. Stu, I know we mentioned a lot. You said you want Manny Diaz he needs that fourth year. He's on the hot seat next season, I think, if he doesn't make any changes, if he vouches for Blake Baker as his defensive coordinator. Even a lot of people were saying, Coach Pack, you take his resume, you can find better people, better recruiters with his resume. I think they're moving him to special teams coach, and they're going to promote someone to the linebacker position coach. Why, per se, Manny Diaz needs a year for whatever happens next year?
Well, I think you have Miami fans got to decide what they want, right? You can get rid of them before year 4, and you can keep them. I know there's a lot of people that have their issues with Manny Diaz, and they don't like some of the things he's doing and what have you. I got it. There's a group of fans in this fan base, I'm sure, that really like him, that really think that we should, you guys should keep him for the long haul.
Right.
I'll say this. I say 4 years because you look at Tennessee. Jeremy Pruitt took over a program that was kind of in a rut,
right,
had some issues. He comes in. Tennessee's a politic place. You got to play a ton of politics, right?
I think that's most places in college football, to be fair.
At the big time institutions, right? He is saddled with a roster that really doesn't conform to his scheme. He runs a 4-1-6. He doesn't want to do that, right? So you got to get the personnel in. The first year a coach comes in, I kind of just wipe it. I'm not going to judge you on your first year, because generally you're playing with dudes that aren't your dudes, and you got to put in your packages, your system. Last year, they were, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of stuff, up and down. Recruiting-wise, though, picking up a lot of steam, getting a lot of nice players. This year, COVID hits, and I think a lot of this year has to get thrown out to a certain extent. especially in the SEC. It's tough, real tough year. He was recruiting great. And then about the last week or two of the season, you start hearing like whispers out of Knoxville, hey, we're going to get rid of him. He's going to get fired. And then this allegation comes out, and now they've hired the same firm that has given out self-imposed, scholarship reduction, et cetera, at multiple schools. This is the same firm that does it at every school. If your school is jacked up, you call these guys, the NCAA signs off on it, and it's really just a thing to get out of this contract. They hired Kevin Steele not as a coordinator, but as an assistant. And they're going to promote him when they fire him. And they have to now. They have to, because now all your players are leaving. They can't get out of Knoxville quick enough. You reaping the benefits of that, getting Jordan, the D-end, real nice player.
DeAndre Johnson,
yeah, yep. Excuse me. These guys are leaving. There's more guys leaving. And you can't recruit. You can't keep the guys that you recruited, even though they were 6th or 7th in the SEC, depending on what site you want to look at this year. You can't keep those guys. So, you have to make a call. And you can't stick them in the program next year, because he won't have his team. He will literally not have a team. All those guys have gone. So you have to fire them, and that's the risk. I don't want to tell Canes fans, like, even if Manny does have a down year next year, you gotta trust the process. You have to let him do a 4th year. You have to let him get to even a 5th year, depending on what happens to De'Aaron King this year. That's tough. You lose him, that's real tough. You give a guy 4 or 5 years. If he can't hack it, right, then we need to walk away. But the recruiting looks like it's on the right path. The team, the mentality, the record, how he's building. I do like the new corner coach that you guys picked up,
Boris Robinson.
Yeah, that's nice. That's a nice pedigree. So he's interested in shaking things up. He's not going to stay stagnant. You got to give him that time. You have to.
I think the issue is people, if he doesn't make a change at defensive coordinator, I think that's why people are mad right now. I think if Manny makes a change at defensive coordinator, people want to give him plenty of time. But I think it's the lack of urgency, because any other program would have Blake Baker gone by now, Stu. Any other program. Texas. Tom Herman went what?
Well, you're comparing apples and oranges. Texas, and excuse me, Miami fans, I respect the school, but you're not in the Texas, Oklahoma, kind of realm. And there's a few other schools in that they're killers. Like they will spend $40 million to fire you and everybody else.
They did that.
Lincoln Riley took Bob Stoops' brother, his mentor, Bob Stoops. He took his brother, Mark, said, you suck at coaching, took him behind the shed and put one behind the ear, right? That's Lincoln Riley. That's what he's about. Texas, I think they're playing musical chairs a little bit too much, but they'll pay $40 million because they're about give me the best staff possible, right? Diaz might be a used car salesman at times, but you have to be. And with what he inherited, with what you have to try and build here, I mean, look, Saban didn't have an amazing first year at Alabama. It takes a while to rebuild. And especially with how college football is nowadays, it is horrible. I think Miami's got to get the pocketbook out, get the money flowing.
No, I agree. I think, if we open up the checkbook, I think we have the money. I mean, we have an ACC contract deal, television deal.
That's
plenty of money
worth.
there.
I got some toilet paper rolls over here for your ACC network.
We should have stayed independent. I'm telling you, we should have always stayed independent. We would have had a great TV contract set up. It would have been great. We probably would have played Notre Dame every single season or every other year. It would have been great for ratings. It would have been awesome, Stu.
That's a hard road to hoe. It depends on who your TV rights provider is.
Right. I mean, like Fox Sports or whatever, something like that. You know,
it's very tough. It's a very tough road.
But Miami, like ratings wise, nationally, they put up good numbers. That Miami Clemson game,
I'm sure they do. Well, it was also the 8:00 primetime game. I mean,
right, but Miami,
that game generally did well all year.
Miami has, when they're doing well, they have a national following. People stop and watch.
Yeah, if hey, look, T-Rod might be, following Muschamp everywhere, but like, there's tons of cases where that's not the case. Like, I hope Muschamp comes to Miami. I think that would be awesome. He is good defensively. He is a very good defensive mind. Hope he comes. But we'll see, right? We'll see. Miami, I'm not saying, shout out to Matt, I'm not saying Miami doesn't have money. You got money. It's a beautiful campus. It's wonderful. You got to pay coaches. What's Manny making? $4
million. That's
$4
like top
million.
30. That's in the top 30.
Yeah, Jim Harbaugh just took a 50% pay cut, and he's at $4 million. Okay,
he's so overrated. He is so overrated.
Oh yeah, I could go on about that deal. That deal is mystifying. But like, you gotta pay these guys, and it's not even so much the head coach. Like, if I'm Miami, I mean, look, Michigan State, we're podunks, right? We're nobodies. Really, in the grand scheme of things, we haven't really run anything.
Mel Tucker is a great head coach.
He's getting $5.6 million a year. He's got $6 million to fill out his staff, right? That's what I'm talking about. That, and my school never paid anybody. Never paid anybody. But we got into a corner and we had to do something and we had to pay something, right? And, I'm not a big fan of Bill O'Brien as the OC, by the way, but it is what it is. I think Manny, 4 to 5 years, he's going to shake it up more. Some guy, if Blake is your DC for next year, maybe the deal wasn't there, right? I don't think Blake is going to sink the ship per se. Because, hey, there's a lot of teams out there that don't play defense, and they're in the top 5, top 6, top 7, right? Year in, year out. Florida don't play a lick of defense. No. Michigan don't play a lick of defense. Ohio State, it's tough. Their defense is hit and miss, right? Alabama, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's an offensive, deal. So I don't think Blake necessarily torpedoes it. And plus you're in the ACC and that's a gimme 4 or 5 wins, especially in the Coastal there.
The ACC Coastal is the weakest Power 5 division in college football.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Stu, have you been to stickersbyab.com yet? They have some of the best custom designed Miami Hurricanes football stickers out there. If you like the NBA, they got plenty of Miami Heat stickers. I know you were a big Miami Dolphins fan back in the day because the
Dolphin made me cry.
It was like your second team. The Detroit Lions were your first team. They never panned out. So who was the team you had to root for on Sundays? Who was your plan B? It was the Miami Dolphins. Well, they got stickers of the Miami Dolphins as well. Tua Tagovailoa, if you love him, they got him everywhere. So check those guys out. Use the discount code SCOOP in all caps. Get 15% off all your orders.
I need Stickers by AB to hook me up with a fat James Harden sticker. That's what I need. God, I love that. I can't get enough of it. But yeah, it's great.
halfway through the show. 220 people joining us on tonight's show.
Thank you to everybody joining, by the way.
We got the StuCast on, man. One of the most knowledgeable sports fans out there.
Not according to some on the comments tonight, though.
Nah. Majority over minority. Move on. Majority over minority. Stu, so basically you said if Miami gets rid of Manny Diaz year 3, we're basically turning into a Tennessee where we're just firing away with.
Well, I think you're flirting with it. I mean, you're flirting with it. I mean, let's play that game out. You get rid of Manny after next year. Well, this recruiting class has bought into Manny. Your next recruiting class is going to buy into Manny. So where do you go from there? Now, unless you get a big hire. Now, let's rewind the clock here. Who's Mark Richt? A solid, good, coach, competent dude. It's been a while since Dennis Erickson, right? It's been a while since Butch Davis.
Right.
Who you getting? There's teams out there that are scrambling. Auburn went with Plan W because the first 25 dudes said no.
Here's my thing. If Miami does fire Manny Diaz next year, I think you have to take the NFL route. I think you want to go after
who?
I know. That's the thing, because NFL organizations are now taking chances on young offensive coordinators like Joe Brady, for example, who I think I would love at Miami. That's someone I would be patient with. But everybody in the NFL,
I would like Bill Belichick at Miami.
Oh yeah, I mean,
that's like saying, hey, you know what would really make the Miami Heat better is if they got LeBron James.
Joe Brady's only making $600K with the Carolina Panthers.
Oh, that's going up. Right, with all the folks that he's interviewed a head coach for.
Right. But I mean, his name just is trending upward, But I'm thinking a young OC from the NFL that, creates a great offense. Give it a shot. I don't know. Good defensive coordinator. I thought Mel Tucker was a great hire at Michigan State. I would have loved Mel Tucker at Miami. While if he was at Colorado, I thought that would be a great hire.
It was originally they were going after Luke Fickell, and now with Marcus Freeman going to Notre Dame. And by the way, I know we can all agree that we don't like that school. I gotta give it to him. I sincerely, as much as the Canes fans,
I don't like Notre Dame either.
I have a loathing for Notre Dame, and I, as a Spartan, have a loathing in just very similar ways. Man, they're playing a different ball game right now because they got the best of both worlds.
They beat out LSU too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Marcus Freeman gave them the old shake and sizzle, the shake and bake, and just scooted right up the South Bend. That is a hell of a hire. And the way they're recruiting and the way their schedule sets up and the money they're pulling in from the contracts, Notre Dame's flirting with playing with the big boys. Yeah, Notre Dame sucks. Hate them.
Stu. So ultimately, if Miami wants to get back to winning football games, they have to start investing more money into the football program, is where we're getting. Okay. Now, to my next question. We all saw the national title game. Do you think this is a bad thing for college football, that it's now been kind of controlled by 3 to 4 programs year in and year out? Let's be fair. Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama. Those are the top 3, and then you have your rotating 4th team. Do you think it's bad for college football that those 3 are the powers of college football moving forward? Because Nick Saban has completely dominated the sport. Hands down. Dabo Swinney's just a mini Nick Saban. He's done a great job as well. Everybody else is just catching up, and then Jason Day just started off where Urban Meyer left off.
Yeah, it's weird how that works. Tressel took him to a point, then Urban took him further, and now Jason Day is, he's taking him even further. Yeah, I say this all the time. College football is the only sport that isn't, NBA, NHL, whatever, and even college basketball. None of those sports have what college football does, and that is you are tied. Your chances of success, rather, are tied to your geographic placement on this, blue dot, right? So Maine football, go Bearcats, FCS. Massachusetts football, Boston College, et cetera, at a great disadvantage when it comes to pulling in recruits versus Alabama, Georgia, LSU, right? Same with the Pacific Northwest. Same with the Midwest. It's an issue. Right? If you're in the South, you're at an advantage. If you're in Southern California, you're at an advantage. If you're in Ohio, and there's only one school in Ohio, you're at an advantage. These centers, these geographical centers, right? So I think that by increasing, I used to be a proponent of not increasing, but like increasing the teams in the playoff, I think I'm hemming and hawing between 6 and 8. I think that's probably for the best, maybe 8. Because then, right now, if you're a kid and you go to Cincinnati, you're basically told, hey, the best we're going to do here is the Cotton Bowl or the Peach Bowl. That's the best you're going to get here. That's the best you're going to do. And you're playing for the AAC title. What up, Greg? And so I think you got to do that. You really have to. I think as more states start legalizing this whole ad
image
revenue, image licensing thing, not only will we get, NCAA football back, I'll probably get a divorce to play that full time, but we'll also get kids being able to be paid openly.
Right.
And then – yeah, it's not under the table. It's not sweetheart deals at the local dealership. It's, then a team like Miami can go, hey, we got this great ad deal with whatever, American Airlines. You can be the face. You can make some money on the side, right? These great centers for marketing are going to bump up a little bit,
right?
And I think that's really where the game's trending towards. I think there's a lot more things happening. I think we're probably due for one more realignment, one major shift. It's going to be interesting what happens with the college football deal with Fox. I think that's going to be really interesting. So I think there's ways to fix it, but in its current incarnation, it won't work. It can't work.
Now, do you think the image likeness bill, whatever, if it's passed in every state, do you think that's going to kind of kill the small programs in a town such as Morgantown, West Virginia, Manhattan, Kansas, Lincoln, Nebraska?
Basically, I got bloody notes here. Let me.
Shit.
Yeah, Jesus. I guess all that cocaine is really paying off.
All right, guys. As Stu takes care of that matter, want to ask you guys a question. Do you guys think the image likeness bill will affect smaller towns and it will enhance and play in favor more to bigger cities such as Miami, Los Angeles, Dallas, Texas? I'm trying to think where there's colleges in big cities per se. Maybe a Jacksonville, Florida, bigger markets, Atlanta, Georgia, for example. Do you think it will affect smaller towns and be better for bigger markets? Edward says yes. Matt says yes. Brown Eye says not at all. It's a huge advantage for Miami, Texas, and the University of Southern California.
Well, hell, my Tony Montana, I got that going on. Sorry about that, folks. What was the question?
Basically, does the image likeness bill, does it enhance bigger markets? For example, Miami, Dallas, Los Angeles. Does it cancel out the Lincoln, Nebraska's, Morgantown, West Virginia's, Manhattan, Kansas?
Not necessarily, because there's a lot of local deals. We're dealing with this up here. Amani Bates, 2022 number 1 draft pick in the NBA draft. He's committed to MSU right now, right? There is a ton of ideas. There was a marketing firm out of East Lansing that recently just asked, how much could he project to make in the Zion was projected to make under those rules $3 to $4 million at Duke, right? And I think he could do the same. Now that's basketball. Football probably a little bit less, but how much could Devonta Smith make this year, right?
A lot.
How much could he make? Yeah, I mean a lot. So, and that's Tuscaloosa, right? So I don't think small towns don't really mean that much because I think all the schools to a certain extent can offer the same. Now, does Miami have more opportunities than a Morgantown? Sure. But Morgantown will pay money. It's not like, there's another show in town. Does Miami have more opportunities than, Seattle or, Chicago with Northwestern, your favorite team? I think they're all questions, and we gotta figure it out how it's gonna look, because right now, I mean, it's very murky waters, to be honest.
Now, that's going to be very interesting how that pans out. Other schools are going to be late to the party. Other states are going to be already ready to go. So I think a lot of recruits are going to go more to those programs in those states. I think Miami is taking advantage of that with recruits right now moving forward. And you may even see some recruits transfer in just for that matter. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Stu, do you believe we should move on from the 4-team playoff?
Yeah, you have to. You have to give.
Go ahead.
You have to give some more teams opportunity. That's a recruiting point. Right now, LSU, Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, Clemson, your top 5, 6, 7 in recruiting all pretty much are the 5, 6, 7 teams that year in, year out are going to be competitive, at least in a spot to make the, title game. And I would also include, funny enough, and people can call me crazy if they want, I think Texas A&M is on their way up as well.
I do. I think so as well. No, I agree. I think, and it's hard to win in the SEC. I mean, it is hard.
It's very hard.
It is very hard.
Not easy. It's not easy, but I think with what Texas A&M is doing, I would put it probably about 6 to 7 teams that can get in, and so it makes division. Pac-12, yeah, Group of 5, yeah. You need the big conferences to be represented. And I think it'll even some things out. I don't know if it equals everything out. Because, again, we come back to you go to Alabama's practice facilities are incredible. You go to Ohio State, they've invested over $100 million in the past 12 years, I think. Texas has spent much more than that, if you want to include the failed, Longhorn network. So, I mean, there's like a lot of money being thrown around, and you got to join the party.
No, I think college football right now is in a big predicament moving forward. You have the transfer portal it's filling up with players. A lot of recruits, they may not even find a place to play because everyone's taking guys from the transfer portal. It's going to be very interesting. What's going to happen there? College football playoffs. What's the point of even being in the G5? We saw Cincinnati go undefeated, but they weren't even ranked to their AP poll, for example. So you literally have a committee just selecting the right team, the right 4 teams to play for the college football playoffs. And a lot of people disagree with them. Maybe some people do agree. So a lot of things going on in college football in the near future. It's going to be very interesting where everything plays out. Stu, Dan Mullen to the Jets. That was like the hottest thing coming up. What happened? Is that still going on?
I mean, he interviewed, I think, with the Falcons and Jets. Hey, look, he did the same thing at Mississippi State. He did the same thing at Mississippi State where it was like, hey, I'm going to possibly talk to this school about leaving. Oh, they went with somebody else. Hey, I'm coming back to Stark Vegas. Like, that's what he does. He's just a guy that always has his bags packed because the grass is always greener, and he wears himself out.
Right.
I mean, he doesn't make many friends.
Right. Hey, we'll see what happens regarding that matter. If Dan Mullen jumps from Florida, it's going to be very interesting who they go after for that job. Maybe Urban Meyer will come back, and
I mean, I did hear that Urban was getting offered 5 years, 9.45, 11 million, like with incentives. I heard that was something that was rumored to be offered. I haven't gotten it verified, but that was a rumor going around. If you're Florida, that's probably the guy you ask first, but maybe Todd Herman's. I don't know.
Stu, anything else you want to add before we wrap it up on tonight's show?
Oh, no. Check me out in the Money Players podcast Friday, dropping with my good friend PTF. I got a new episode of the StuCast out today. We're talking with some folks covering the Cowboys, guy that works with Ross Tucker on Bet Sweats. That's a good show. Joe Ostrowski, Ari Tom. So, please check it out. Appreciate everybody in the chat. I like the going back and forth. And next week I'll find a better supplier, and we'll make sure no more nosebleeds.
Love it, Stu. It's always a pleasure to have you on our weekly segment. Where can the good people find you in your podcast?
Yeah, at StuCast Sports. I like going back and forth. I've had some good conversations with you guys, just going back and forth, because my opinions aren't thank you, Marcus. My opinions aren't gold, right? So please fling arrows. Let's have a conversation about it and get after it. And I hope that, next few weeks, let's, mix it up and do some interesting stuff here.
All right, guys. And always, all about the U. Go Canes.
Roll damn Tide.